with Vice President of Media Relations, Sarah. How's it going?
Hey, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
It's good to be here.
I'm looking forward to the cold and the rain and the snow, possible snow on Sunday. I know you're not.
I'm not. I know. I think it'll hold off on the snow, fingers crossed, but I love the rain. I find that very soothing and methodic.
Rain's good. You know, we're having snow. We got people.
No,
So.
in May, you never plant
True.
your flowers before Mother's Day.
Very
So I
true.
know the 80s are very tempting. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Have some patience.
Exactly.
It is hard.
Yep. Well, I wasn't paying attention. I'm just waiting for our producer, Sabino, who gave me the thumbs up. We have a wonderful guest in our studio today, Sarah.
We do.
And it's not just because his name is Josh.
Josh is a really good name, though. I have
solid.
to say that.
Very solid.
Every Josh I've ever met is an amazing person.
I
just
agree.
saying.
I agree.
We are good at fooling.
No,
just you.
you're very genuine.
We are very good at fooling.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Josh Dellinger with Optimize Wealth Strategies is in the house right now. How's it going, Josh?
Howdy. Good.
Hey.
Real good.
Nice. Heck yeah.
I second the sentiment about it being Friday for sure.
Nice. What are you doing this weekend?
This weekend, I actually don't have much planned. I'm taking an exam next Friday, so I'm kind of in studying mode.
Okay.
And as we were just talking about, I have my new assistant joining my team on Monday.
It's very exciting.
So yeah, just kind of getting prepared for a good big week.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think an assistant is a very good sign. That means you're growing, expanding, more clients is
Yes.
what that means.
To help me to serve my clients better
Yes.
too.
Or he's just lonely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like my alone time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I second that as well.
Says the busiest woman in Denver.
I do like to stay busy.
Yeah.
And I love the one-on-ones, but at nighttime I like to be really quiet.
Yes.
I do. I find my
Yes.
solitude and just zoning out for
Do
an
you
hour.
watch TV? Do you read? Or are you like in meditation mode?
I can usually watch a little bit of TV, but I like it really dark and really quiet, so I can just be still with my thoughts.
Dark? Like you
Dark,
go
dark.
lay down in bed and
It's
okay.
dark.
Okay.
Yeah, like
You're-
pitch black,
You're
no
not,
noise,
You're
nothing.
not trying to walk around the house with all the lights off. Are you?
I'm feeling the walls.
Yeah.
Trying to scale the roof, you know.
Yeah.
No, I'm not too
Okay.
crazy.
All right.
No, because it's so much. I think so much input for me through the
Yeah.
day because
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
stay very active. But
Right.
yeah, so I think it's the only way for me to do that is just to kind of check out a little bit.
Yes. I think I heard the best way to put it. There was a gentleman I met through the Inglewood Chamber, and he said, I only have so many human tokens. Meaning I can be around people so much,
Yeah.
but I only have so many tokens. When I'm out of tokens, it's shut down mode.
It's so true.
And that's how I recharge is alone. Yeah.
It's interesting.
it.
I always heard the difference introvert versus extrovert my whole life. And I've been called more of an extroverted introvert
Yes.
recently. So
Right.
which makes a lot of sense. I don't recharge until I'm really quiet and still.
And
but
what
I
do you think it
love-
means?
I like the one-on-one. The big groups tend to really drain me. You know, if I'm in front of 3,000 people, I find myself exhausted. But on coffee and lunch dates, I really enjoy those because I like what we're doing right now. The interview is very inspiring. It's very motivating to me. I like that connection. But then again, at the end of the day, I really like to just be still and be quiet.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
what it means is I don't know. I enjoy being social when I have to be.
Well, what I meant was, what do you think introverted versus extroverted means? So one of the main
yeah.
things I think about is how you process things, right? So I internalize things. I process it internally. I can eventually talk about it with somebody, but typically I'm going to go through it through my head, maybe to a fault sometimes, right? That's why I don't smoke weed.
Nice. Well, I've heard sometimes that can help.
Yeah, no, it goes to the extreme for me. It's like, no, yeah, that was over early 20s. Yeah.
That's so. I had the same actually experience. Is
Yeah.
my brain doesn't shut down, and weed supposedly is supposed to help it settle. I have the exact opposite. Like I'm voraciously writing every thought that comes into my brain, and like I start sweating, my heart's palpitating, and like, holy cow, this had the opposite effect. So no bueno for me.
Yeah, what would happen with me is, like, if you guys were having a conversation, you said something, and I'd be like, oh, I want to chime in, and I'd think about it, and I'd be like, is that going to be funny? Is that going to be weird? Well, hold on. What if I say it like this? 30 minutes later, I'm ready to finally chime in. Whole new topic, and I'm like,
totally
so I ultimately end up just being a mute the entire night. So, yeah, I think like 22, I was done.
That's awesome. I become really kind of a mute too. I stop talking and I am not hungry. Yeah, it's totally the opposite for me. Josh, how would you like to, you want to chime in on this?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we're here to talk about weed.
No, we're not.
Josh, I know you've been in here before, but
Yeah, thank you for having me back.
Absolutely.
I had a blast first time.
It was fun.
Yep.
This is the first time for him that we're live on our social media platform. So anybody who's watching, listening, anything like that, you can comment in the sections on Facebook.
Do we have a call-in number?
We don't have a
not.
call-in number now.
Yes.
Just the comments that
Probably
we can
safe.
see.
Yeah, we're live on K4CO Radio on Facebook. We're on Instagram, K4CO_radio. We're also live on YouTube, which
And
again is
LinkedIn.
K4CO Radio, LinkedIn, K4CO Radio. We're all over the place. So yeah, if you want to join in on Facebook and see our lovely faces and hear us as well, then you can, shoot both Joshes some questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just listen to our sultry voices.
Yes. So Joshua, tell us about Optimize Wealth Strategies. What do you do?
You don't want me to sing Easy Lover now?
Absolutely.
Please do. Please do. Then tell us how you optimize things.
Thank you. Optimize Wealth Strategies, a comprehensive financial planning firm. I went independent 2 years ago, almost to the day. So we will look at your entire financial picture, analyze it, put a roadmap together, and basically put you in the best position possible. It's funny, I was having this conversation, and it was like a wife saying that her husband doesn't want to spend money, and he's not sure if he wants to spend the money. And the way I think about it is like, okay, it's pretty broken down simply, but do you think that either you can grow your money better or minimize your taxes better than a financial planner, right? Is the value there? Is it worth it to you to pay some money that will increase your nest
Right.
down the long road? So we'll look at the entire picture, the investment piece, the insurance piece, long-term care planning, estate planning, retirement planning. So yeah.
That's awesome. I also like that you focus on not only the individuals and families, but businesses as well.
Yes. Yeah. Love to work with business owners. Being a business owner myself, I think I connect with them well that way. And really, business owners, when you look at the list of what I provide, the different services, they need them all, right? You don't get it from a W-2 employer, right? I mean, you've got to get it all in place yourself. So I like to work with them. I love to see them progress in their business. Let me do the financial side for you and let you focus on the things that matter to support your employees and grow your business.
You're saying business owners have a lot to think about?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I can get that.
They don't go
on
to
the
sleep. Exactly.
What I really love is when you were here last time, and what I talk to people when I'm talking about you is for people to think about their legacy. And what I find interesting is people maybe quote unquote younger in their 20s and 30s don't think about it as much. I really wish that I would have back in the younger days, because
no one's ever said, I wish I would have waited
yeah, exactly.
20 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as a business owner, you think about that too. I'm currently working also at a nonprofit, and we're building up our endowment because you're thinking about the sustainability and the future. What are you leaving behind?
Right.
And whether it be to children or family members or other employees or whoever, that is a really crucial thing to be thinking about. And I would strongly advise people to not do it alone.
Yeah.
Because you can't see the tree through can't see the forest through the tree. Nope, can't see the tree. It's too, no.
Well, when
It's
you have the
done.
lights off in your house, you don't see anything.
You see nothing.
Right.
You need help. I
Right.
need help. Josh, help.
Well, it's funny. After I hired the firm to create my logo and my brand image, we started thinking, oh, I should have named it Optimized Wealth Legacy or Optimized Wealth Lifestyles because of the owl. But yeah, I mean, the legacy is a big part. I have yet to have a client or clients come in and say, and show them, you're running out of money. Sorry, you're screwed, right? It hasn't been the case. But it is, hey, what do you want to leave? And that, honestly, the answers are all across the board. I've literally had people tell me, I want to pass away with my credit cards maxed out. I was like, okay, I don't know if we're the right fit here. And some people say, I want to leave as much as I possibly can to my kids. Right. That's the most important. And they'll sacrifice their own retirement to leave as much as they can for the kids.
Right.
But typically it's somewhere in the middle, right? It's, hey, as long as I'm taken care of, if there's something left, great. Or if I know that my retirement's set, if I could do some things that would, leave a little bit more and be tax efficient when that transfer happens, okay, let's talk about that. But I'm glad that that's important to you. I know we've had that discussion, and your child, very important. Make sure taken care of and your family. But
yeah, well, day one,
not
truly,
everybody thinks that way.
I think my kiddo was day one on planet Earth, and I started a college fund.
Yeah,
because I'm already thinking he's gonna be 16, 17 before you know it, and then I don't know where I'm gonna be in 5 years, 10 years.
By then, it might cost $1 million to go to college.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
Exactly. You never know.
Yeah.
Do you find when most people...
Should we get into politics after that one? No, I'm teasing. No,
you can go in any direction you'd like, Josh.
I definitely don't.
Do you find when most people come to you, especially in the retirement legacy frame of mind, are they educated in that? If you say, hey, let's talk about IRAs or let's talk about the stock market, do you find that most people have a glimpse, or most people going, I have no idea what to do?
I would say, because I have a lot of clients that are past 50, 55 years old, just because how I started and where my clients were coming from, I think they had a pretty good understanding because they'd been in the 401k for a while, right? They'd been in a place where they've been thinking about it. I am shocked, honestly, people that are in their 30s and 40s that don't have a full grasp on it. Now, it's not meant to shame them, and I want to go back to that phrase, but it's just, they're not digging in, and there isn't the education. We talked about this last time. There isn't the education. They need to start that in high school. You
agree.
need to have that education, and sorry, but unfortunately, a lot of parents aren't providing that education either, right? Mm-hmm. I don't feel like there's as much discussion at the dinner table. There's not as much communication happening. So that's not happening that way, or the parents aren't in a position to be able to educate that way either, right? But going back to the shame thing, I think that's a lot of times why I will see people hesitate to start working with a planner. Mm-hmm. I'm 45 years old, and I don't feel like I'm in the spot where I should be, and I feel ashamed, and I don't want anybody else to know that I haven't done the right things or whatever. It's like, okay, hey, you've been doing other things. Mm-hmm. We didn't all start thinking about it from day one, right?
Yep.
You're going to be way better off talking to someone now than never talking to anybody because you were a little embarrassed, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Mm-hmm. I even say it on my website. Like, I didn't really, even though I went to school for finance, I didn't really understand it. My family, we didn't have the conversation. We didn't talk about it. Mm-hmm. So I made mistakes. Mm-hmm. And trust me, I remember I was in Boulder, and Boulder, people here in Colorado understand Boulder, and it's a little bit more affluent sometimes, more money. Mm-hmm. And I was definitely trying to keep up with the Joneses, And so I was embarrassed. I was like, man, I haven't done all the things I should be doing. So I failed and learned from that. Right. So I think it's just a matter of...
I find it so interesting. I've been on this authenticity kick for about a decade, and it's so refreshing when people just show up how they show up. Mm-hmm. And everyone
like me in my boots?
I love it.
Thank you.
It's great. It's a good look for you. Because it's real, and you can't change your past. It is what it is, and we all have our different experiences and educational levels, and all of our journeys have been really different, and you don't know it until you sometimes have to know it. And back to your point, when you said the kiddos need to start learning in high school, I believe is what you said, I would start younger. My child knows what it means to save $1. It is start them young,
I
and
agree.
however you can have that, it's to say, okay, you're giving me $1, and if you want it back tomorrow, what does that look like? So you can kind of have very rudimentary conversations, but as the
agree.
earlier you can implement those ideas into their brains, they'll have a concept of money and what it is to save and earn. And we go to the dollar store, we go to ARC. You don't have to go spend all this money, but be like, you have $1 to your name right now. What would you like to do with it? And, so to plant those seeds as early as you can.
I agree.
And it's across the board. It's the life journey of teaching these moments when you can. But
Well, I agree with that. I was a part of a program where we went in and would do a full day of teaching to third graders.
Really?
And of course, it's obviously more elementary
Right.
as far as the breadth of what it is, but the concepts of it, I absolutely agree. Start earlier. But the reason I said high school was like I took an accounting course, and I think that is, have an understanding of how the checkbook works. And I think it's a little bit lost now too, because we don't have that physical register that we're writing
Right.
each transaction.
It's all
and
digital.
we're
It's all swiping. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we don't feel it. We don't touch it. We don't have that as strong of a connection to our money as I think we used to. But people are still very emotional about their money. But I appreciate what you said as far as the authenticity of it. I feel like I absolutely have a greater appreciation, not for the money itself, but for where you can be and the life that you can live and the comfort you can have. Because let's be honest, like if you've ever been in a position where you were worried about paying a mortgage or putting gas in your car, which I was in this job early on, I remember I had to drive up to Fort Collins, and I had sold this truck that I had because I was broke. Like it was a hard career to get started in. So I had this old 1999 Subaru. I drove up to Fort Collins and I was like, I don't know that I have money to put gas in the car to get back down to Denver. Right. So I've been in those moments, and the appreciation for, I don't think there's anything to take away from the idea of working hard. It's okay to work hard. When people say work smart, not hard. No, listen, it's good to work hard. Work hard. Know what that means. Have some struggles. But it does give you a greater appreciation, definitely.
And I'm still I'm kind of shocked that you had a accounting class in high school, because I think there's a couple elements here. One, the learning, the teaching of it. I never had an accounting class or money class or anything like that. I don't think finance is taught. And again, also, I don't think it's for the most part, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I don't think it's talked about in families. I don't think money's talked about. Like it's very hard for someone to go to a stranger or somebody that they just sort of know, like an advisor, and talk about their financial situation, what they're going through and where they want to go. So I think the education and just it's kind of like a taboo thing to talk about money. Is at least what I get.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's a couple things there. I've seen also the opposite, where people with money have said, hey, no, let's actually talk about it. And they, I think that's also the concept of you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So these people that are talking about money, that's what they're thinking about, and they want to grow their businesses, whatever it is.
Right.
But I agree. I think for the most part, people aren't having those conversations because they don't have it, right? Or the conversation that you saw were not conversations; they were arguments, because whatever the financial struggle was happening, and maybe the child saw that argument, right?
Yep. It's the top argument for marriages,
Right.
Right. Is money, finances.
Yeah. And again, just, maybe that's just not the route that your mind goes down, right? If like I'm a left brain, give me some spreadsheets, give me, what makes sense mathematically.
Right.
And then you get your right brain people, and that's just not their conversation. It's not where their world goes.
Do you think
unfortunately, that is what make our world go round.
Do you think there's one kind of thing that stands out to you that people just don't think about. I mean, because there's so many things you can do out there, from life insurance to investments to 401ks to IRAs to, I mean, it's endless right there. Do you think there's one common thing that, one, people don't think about, and two, they should, that it's often overlooked?
The very first thing is your budget, understanding what's coming in and going out. Again, I think because we're not touching it, we're not feeling it, we're swiping, they're not paying attention to what is actually coming in and going out.
Right.
And we have credit cards, so they're like, I don't know if I have it. I'm going to put on here, and then I'll pay 5% of it back each month, whatever. So
it'll take me 20 years to pay it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the budgeting and understanding, live below your means, right? This is the old adage that hasn't gone away. The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a great book. Read it. It has the most basic money principles. So know what you have coming in and going out. Aside from that, I think you said it, like the insurance part, what we call risk management when we're talking about financial planning. We think we're Superman. We're going to live forever. I'm 30 years old. I'm going to live forever. Okay, we all know that that's not the case, and things happen.
Right.
If you have a family, if you have someone that you love, you might want to think about these possibilities that we can't control. But you can control the outcome if something does happen, financially speaking, with insurance, with disability coverage, things like that. But I think, again, a lot of times people don't think about it. If I'm an engineer working for a firm and I'm a W-2 employee, oh, well, I have life insurance from my work. I remember seeing it on, my pay stub. Do you know how much coverage you have?
Right.
Most of these places, they have like $10,000 or $15,000, and it's through their health insurance, actually. That's barely going to bury you.
Right.
Right? Now, if you have a loved one, how are they going to be? Right? So, yeah, I think just understanding what you have coming in, going out. But I think that risk management piece is the piece that it gets missed a lot.
It's overlooked
to think about, right? And then at the end of the day, I think taxes I really enjoy the tax part of the planning, because I can show you, and I just showed a client last week, like I can put $3 more million in your nest at the end of the day for your children just by doing this.
Wow.
Very simple process. So, yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
It's great. Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun to show those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want $3 more million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially it is tax season.
Yeah.
So are people starting to pour in and say, "Uh-oh, 'tis the season"?
Business owners do.
Yeah, of course. Help me.
Yeah.
All of my shoebox receipts.
Yeah. Well, again, when you're not having the tax kept out of your paycheck every other week,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you got to write that quarterly check. That's a big one. Yeah.
Yep, that's so true.
Yeah.
I like that you said live within your budget. That is truly what my parents have harped in on me from early on.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same way. Sometimes you have a job that's paying you great, and then you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's truly, how do you live within what is coming in? Can you, and yeah, it's great to have the extravagant taste, but are you willing to really pay for it?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the amount of debt that we have, I know we aren't going to go on the political crusade here today, but we're in a little bit of debt.
A little bit.
Just a tad.
Too big for our britches, and then you get in a little bit of trouble. And then you sometimes can't dig yourself out. So it is really important to sit with someone like you to say, hey, I have X coming in. Here's all of my bills. What am I going to do? So to have, I love that you call it the roadmap, because things can always change. And so it's good to develop the relationship with you, because this isn't a one-time fix all. This is truly, hey, let's talk about this as often as we need to, whether it be weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever it is, because things do change. Priorities shift. Retirement. That's probably a huge conversation. I'm already thinking about it. I'm not there yet.
Right.
But I know
But
that
you should be. Yeah.
it is. It's something, again, it goes back to my legacy. If I want to retire at 50, ooh, that'd be lovely. I don't think that's in the cards. Let's go with 60. Let's shoot for the stars, 55. But it is, it comes faster than you think. So how much do I have to put away each month? What does my life need to look like? Do I really need to take the trip to the Bahamas this year? Can I kick it down the road a little bit? So,
And what happened over the past couple of years with inflation,
Right.
right? I mean, that's a big calculation in that too. Something we can't control.
Right.
We cannot control that. So when it goes from your standard 2.5%, 3% inflation up to 7%, 8% inflation, and the cost of everything went up, but your income didn't.
Right.
Yeah. So there are a lot of variables, which is another way of saying what you're saying, and it's a moving target, is what I typically say. It's
It
a moving
is.
target, and so you have to make adjustments.
And people can do it.
it's-
We have the capability of being flexible. It's just
Yeah.
to readjust because, like you said, so many things are out of our control.
Yeah.
When I wake up in the morning, it's how am I going to react to today?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the only thing in my control.
Yeah.
Everything else, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Because there's a lot of, and it's not just in this year or today's world. This has been going on forever. There's always going to be stability issues. There's always going to be fear and unknown. What's going on in the market? And we've lived through the Great Depression. We lived through 2008. And now the last couple of years, again, we are looking at a lot of volatility, a lot of things that aren't known. So what we can control is talking to someone like you and saying, how can we best prepare for our situation?
Right. Everything that we're going through, we've gone through,
Right.
and in worse
Way worse.
ways.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And I mean from ancient times, right? And I mean, we've had worse inflation, we've had wars, we have an administration change every 4 years.
I do love it.
None
Yeah.
of this is new. I know.
Like, oh, it's a political year. I'm like, have you? We've had a few.
Just a couple of
You've been
them.
on planet Earth for what?
Right.
How, 50 years
Right.
now? Yeah.
Well, and I can't remember if I brought this up last time, but Kiplinger is a financial organization, and they had this brochure, and on the front of the brochure were like 8 different Time magazine covers that were all, this is doomsday, this is we're going to hell in a handbasket, this is the end, right?
Yeah.
And we always come through.
Of course. I remember the 2000 when it hit 2000. It was oh
Oh,
my god.
Y2K was so funny. I loved
we
it.
all just were
It
so
was
pensive,
great.
and you know what happened? Nothing happened.
Right.
Next year came.
Well, another thing we can't control really, it's tax season right here. So people can control talking to you how they kind of divert. You can't control the tax rate or anything like that. One thing that I'm curious about is you have deferred tax products, and then you have after tax products. And do you sway one way or another on that? So, I mean, everything from a Roth or a traditional type of investing.
So when do you want to pay your taxes? Do you want to pay when you're in a higher tax rate or a lower tax rate?
And you never know if it's going to be higher or lower. Exactly.
Right.
I'm
You never
paying
know.
in September.
Yeah. There are some things that you can make decisions based off of, such as the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is set to sunset at the end of this year, which means our tax rates are already set to increase next year.
Okay.
Now, that's barring that the administration doesn't do anything and what's going to happen happens without making changes. So if you know taxes are going up, this is a good year to do Roth conversions, right? Go ahead and pay in a lower tax rate now. In general, from a longer timeline, if you believe that 20 years down the road when we retire and we're going to be using our money, if we're going to be in a higher tax rate,
I'd bet on that.
then you'd want to pay the taxes now, right? Now, the old adage was, well, when I retire, I don't have income, so I'm not going to have, as much coming in, so I'm going to be in a lower tax bracket. Okay, yeah, you'll probably be in a lower tax bracket, but I believe that the brackets are going to shift, right? Now,
Gotcha.
that's just looking at history where taxes have been. Again, I use this trivia when I do financial workshops, but, what's the highest tax rate we've ever been in? 94%.
Ooh.
So it was the highest bracket, right? It wasn't your lower income. It was
When
the
was
highest
this?
tax
Yeah.
bracket in the late 40s. So after the Great Depression.
Right. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
we're in war.
Yeah.
Okay.
So imagine making $1 and you got to keep 6 cents of it. Like
That's
crazy,
kind of my
right?
life right now.
Yeah. And that's how
Not because of taxes, other reasons.
that's how we've all felt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you can look at inflation as a tax. You can look at all these different things we pay as a type of a tax. But yeah, so making the decision of Roth versus traditional, and here's just a pure numbers thing. You can put money into a Roth or a traditional. If the tax rate is the exact same 25 years down the road when you use that money, and they both got, let's say, an 8% rate of growth on them, it doesn't matter. You'll have the same amount of money in your pocket at the end of the day. So if I put $100,000 in now, I don't pay taxes on it yet, right? A tax deferred, and it grows at an 8% rate, and I'm in a 25% tax rate 25 years down the road, and I am at a 25% tax rate now. That number is going to end up being the same as doing a Roth, which means I pay the taxes now, so I'm not putting 100 in. I'm putting 75,000 in.
Right.
It's growing at 8%, but 25 years down the road,
You don't have to pay.
I don't have to pay the taxes. Guess what? I'm going to have the same amount in my pocket. So when the tax is going to be higher, it will have an effect. But to your point, we don't know when that is. But diversification, right?
Right.
Don't just diversify and I'm not going to buy all Apple stock, right? Or Tesla. Everybody loves Tesla now.
Depends on what side
I
of
feel
the-
like I'm trying to force it to go this way. I'm really not. But I will say something here in a second. But yeah, we don't know. So, diversification in terms of what we actually invest in is one thing, but also from a tax perspective is another. So yeah, you have what we say is fully taxable, tax deferred, and tax advantage. So that's more like the Roth.
All right, I'm curious. What do you want to launch into?
Oh,
What were you
I
gonna
just,
say?
it was funny. So a couple weeks ago, I said on Facebook, I was like, if you're going to be using this as your political podium, I will be removing you from my Facebook.
Yep.
And it's funny. I had responses that everybody else was like, I get it. Yes, agree. Cool. Thank you.
Right.
But there were two people, and I know them both from my hometown on opposite sides.
Yep.
And they both basically said the same thing. And, it was like, fine, leave. Good riddance. And I'm like, and neither one of them know where I stand. But it's just like,
Yeah.
it's just so funny. It's so funny.
It is.
It is pretty crazy.
And it's a
Yeah.
part of our lives. And that's where we are.
It is.
But,
And that's
but please
it's
stop
where-
using Facebook as your, political
Oh, they do
soapbox.
it all the
Exactly.
time on social media. It's large.
And
on it.
I guess here's really my bigger thoughts behind it is the fact that there's so much that goes on that we don't know. And so for people that go on Facebook or Instagram and try to act like they are political scientists and they know what has been happening behind closed doors and they know that this tariff is going to have this effect, no doubt. And this is going to have this effect. That's what's going to happen. It's like, okay, Nostradamus, you are removed from my Facebook, So
It's true.
When I used to complain about people posting about their dogs and kids, I'm like, can we go back to that, please? Can we please
the
go
simpler
Or the
times.
pictures of their meals.
I've been blocking those people too.
I don't care if you're eating green beans for dinner. Don't share it with the world.
The only people I give an okay to on that is if that is actually what you do.
If you're a chef.
So I have
Or-
a friend who is like a nutritionist.
Okay.
And
Oh,
so
I
she's
gotcha.
trying to
So
say,
it's
hey,
well, yeah, it's
here-
your job. You're informing.
okay, if that's what you're doing. But if you're just doing it because you want to post pictures about your meatloaf that you got at the most expensive place
Yeah, happens
in
all the
Springfield,
time.
Ohio, where they eat cats. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no. See, you tipped
No,
it.
I've had a lot of people ask me where I'm from, and that's the easiest way I can describe. Like
Nice. That's what you eat. On a daily
Urbana, it's right
basis.
next to Springfield, Ohio. Everybody knows Springfield, Ohio.
That
Oh,
we
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
It is very interesting that you talk about social media because, of course, we utilize social media all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
It's a big reach. And with that being said, go back to the financial advice. They did a poll maybe 6 months ago on where these younger-ish kids, 20s and 30s, are getting their advice. And it's Facebook. And it scares the living daylights out of me.
Facebook,
I'm like,
Instagram, TikTok.
I'm like, you're going to
I mean,
rely on some guy you have no idea who they are. He's an 11-year-old in his basement saying, go invest in, I don't know, this stock.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And it is. You take these podiums, if you will, and you have no idea what you're talking about. And not to delve into the political stuff, but a little bit, is we don't know what's true on either side. I no longer care
Absolutely not.
what side you're on. It's like, where are we getting our information? And I've been, especially because I feel like we are being in the media world, that we have an even bigger spotlight on us. And that's why we personally, as a station, have said we're not going to go and endorse anyone. We will have these conversations with
Appreciate
people and say, where are you getting your information? And let's go check it out, and that type of conversation. But, it's very important. Where is it coming from? Because it's where I see it a lot is on Nextdoor, which cracks me up. It's like, hey, can you go
I had to
pick up
remove that.
after?
Yeah.
And it starts so simple and very genuine. Is, hey, do you mind like picking up after your dog? And it's a political crusade within 6 comments. I'm like, dude, they're talking about their dog. Like, why are you talking about how much you hate whoever? It has nothing to do with the
I grew up in a
topic.
day where you didn't pick up after your dog.
Okay, pick up after your dog.
I mean, times change.
It's really gross. It has diseases. Pick up after your dog.
Yeah. Well, so kind of going back to that, I had a client a couple weeks ago. He and his wife, they have a certain feeling about where our world is and where it's headed. And because of it, we made an adjustment to some of his strategy. And so I don't take sides, especially when I talk with clients. I take sides with my friends and whatever, I'll make points, but
Well, you're there to serve your
it-
clients and
but-
their.
but
Yeah.
where I stand has zero impact on my clients because I will put a plan together knowing that these things happen. But if I have, and I've only had one out of the 250 clients I had one client that was like, hey, we've got to make this change. I said, okay, we can. Because one of the other things that I stress most is that there's the numbers part of it, and then there's the emotional side of it. And even though I can show you numbers, that's the easy part. That's the easiest part of this.
Right.
If you're losing sleep at night, and not because you're drinking a Coca-Cola, but if you're losing sleep at night because of everything else, fine, we will find a solution and a strategy that will accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, but also put your mind at ease.
Do you find that more people are basing their decisions today on the numbers that you're providing, more on quote unquote facts or the trends, or is it based on their emotional gut feeling of where the world they think is going to go?
Again, just speaking of my clients, we're not making emotional changes.
Right.
They're just not.
Well, I think.
and then I would say that most of the, when you say the climate, I think most of that is emotional. There are financial impacts going on. Don't misunderstand. There are going to be some impacts. But again, I keep stressing, like, none of this is new. So, and I already know that when we start working, that's the first thing when I start working with someone is getting to know you and where you feel about money. And I even ask, are you going to be looking at, that little screen going at the bottom of your TV, that little strip that's telling you where the market is?
Yeah.
Well,
And are you looking at your 401k every single day? And if the market went down 1%, 2%, are you flipping out? If you are, we're going to probably go this direction.
Right.
If you're the kind, and I have some that go, I haven't looked at it for 7 or 8 months. I'm not touching it for another 20 years. Great. We're
Then
probably
we're
going to
gonna-
go a different route.
Right.
Right. So these are the types of things I learn about my clients right from the get-go. But to your point earlier, that will change. Your feelings about these things will change. Right. So in my reviews, I'm always saying, how are you feeling? Is your risk appetite, is it changing with this? So I'm going to ask it. It's
sure.
always in my review, but
Yeah, you have more. I have done both. It's very interesting. I've been risky, definitely, and now I'm way more conservative the last 10
really?
years, for sure. I'm
Really?
very, very conservative now. But I
Okay.
was very risky in my 20s. I was like, whatever. I don't care where it goes. It can be volatile in the stock market. But,
Yeah.
as you get older, hopefully a little wiser.
Yeah.
But the first year of COVID, 2020, I was that person looking at the bottom of the screen. Because I think in my world, my personal being, there was so much fear inside of me for about 6 weeks of so much unknown. And it became very emotional for me.
Because they shut down the liquor stores for 5 hours.
I was, first of all, I was not drinking. Second of all-
Prohibition 2020.
Oh God, don't even.
That was, I used to drive to Wyoming in my younger days.
Yeah.
'cause when
Oh,
we
yeah.
didn't
Get your
have-
firecrackers
yeah,
and booze.
and booze on a Sunday. I
Yeah.
was so, man, a
yeah.
20-year-old
Every
has to
Coloradan
drink.
has. Yeah.
Exactly. God bless Fort Collins, man.
Oh, yeah.
I was so close to the border.
Fort Collins and Phil Collins. It's that kind of day,
Oh,
right?
See, yeah.
Well, see, I did the opposite when I was younger because I'm innately a conservative person, risk averse, and a financial means. Again, probably stems from not having money as a kid, right? And I have flipped, and maybe it's because of my understanding of the history of finances now more than I was back then. But I went from being more conservative to being aggressive. For me, doesn't mean that's what I do for my clients, but for me, I'm like, I've got 15, 20 years before I'm tapping into this. Like, I'm going all out.
Well, you're also a professional there too. I think that everybody, for the most part, is very conservative with their money. You're a professional. You know how this works. You know the risk involved, and I think that's why you go to a professional to handle it. I remember I was with a big financial firm a while ago, and somebody set up this lady with a mutual fund, 1-year investment, stuff like that. She was in every single day asking the balance. And I'm like, ma'am, you cannot be doing this to yourself. Like you are going to just
Go crazy.
die of stress if you're coming in asking for your balance every single day. But it's very personal to her, just like everybody's money is very personal to them. So
Very emotional. You're absolutely right.
Exactly.
No doubt. Yeah, I think it is a lot, again, because of my history and the understanding of finance, how long I've been doing this. But I've also, I think I've gotten to a point where, kind of going back to the Stoics, right? What are the things I can control, right? Even though I can control technically the risk of my portfolios, right? We've been taught for many, many years, and I'm not saying that this has changed, but that bonds and stocks work inversely, right? So you have a mixture of stocks and bonds inside your portfolio because when the stocks aren't doing good, your bonds are going to still be getting a dividend and it's going to keep you from seeing as big of a loss, right? Well, what happened in 2008? Everything. Pew.
Yep.
What happened in 2002? Right? So we're starting to create a new history, a new precedence that, hey, this isn't always the case, right? So it's a matter of that we can't control these things. Do put in some guardrails that we do know, right? Maybe some things go into a fixed portfolio, right? But I think also selling mutual funds years ago, that's how advisors made their money by every transaction, which is our models have changed now. It's not about I'm not going to say their name, but you've probably seen these commercials where they go, well, we do better when you do better. Well, that's kind of what most of us are doing these days. There are commission products, but we're not making a commission every time we do a transaction.
Right.
So, but yeah, there's definitely the education part, but also, as you had just said, well, that's why you hire a financial advisor.
Right.
And that's why I said at the beginning, right? What's the value of paying a fee to have someone help you with it, right? If I told you that the average person that doesn't have an advisor is earning 3%, and someone with an advisor is earning 6%, and they pay a 1% fee, so they're netting 5, is 5 better than 3?
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
If I can save you thousands of dollars in taxes, is it worth paying me a financial planning fee of $2,000,
Right.
knowing that you're going to save thousands and thousands? So where's the value of it? But we're, again, going back to the emotional side of it, managing those expectations, right? So if someone, I'm gonna understand that about that woman right from the get-go.
Right.
Like, if you're going to be coming in here every day, I don't know that we're going to be the right
fit.
fit.
Yeah.
Because frankly, like I can't, like,
I don't have the
you can't be
bandwidth,
walking into
yeah.
my office every day. I have to have meetings, and scheduled times. But it's either that or I'm going, hey, listen, like, you're going to sleep better if we just get you in this particular account. You don't have to worry about that volatility.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Right.
Something a little more stable or fixed.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to mention also with the educational piece. So I love that we here at the radio station get your monthly newsletter.
Oh, yeah.
And I really appreciate that because it's very varying topics.
Mm-hmm.
I will feel remiss if I don't mention this. For the Medicare, the enrollment period ends on March 31st, correct?
Well,
Am I saying that
so
right?
let's be clear on when we say enrollment period. So there are
Okay.
really like 4 different types of enrollment. So there's the initial enrollment period, which is I'm about to turn 65. You have a 7-month period, 3 months before you turn 65 and 4 months after to get your Medicare kicked in. Okay. If you miss that window, you then have what you're talking about, the January through March
Okay, that open enrollment.
to do, that's called the general enrollment.
Okay.
That's essentially, kind of if you missed it,
Okay.
and you may have a penalty fee,
Okay.
right?
See, this is
And
why
then-
I need your newsletters.
Yeah, and then you, and then you have open enrollment, which is each year, just like how you have open enrollment with
Yeah, other
your
insurance.
employment, right? Usually the end of the year, October 15th through like 10th of December, you can make your changes. We can, change this policy for this policy, or so. Yeah, so there are different enrollment periods.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I did. I enjoyed it. I wrote down some of your notes from this last one. Yeah, we've already
appreciate
talked.
that. Thank
Well,
you.
it's true. That's what I was like. We need to talk about budget checkups because, yeah. my
Well, and
budget is-
I'm relying on you to tell me if stuff that is invaluable is going out. Be like, hey,
Hey, this is
That was
not,
dumb.
This was dumb. Josh,
just
we
dumb,
need to talk
Josh,
about
yeah.
this. Well, what was interesting?
Depends if you had a good time.
I am a female. I'm one of the only females in
What?
this. Yeah, I know. It's a shocker.
Yeah, it is. You can't tell these days.
Wow. I'm doing something really right or something really wrong. Because you mentioned
he's an easy lover.
that's our new reel right there, baby. 100%. If you were just tuning in, this is Josh Dellinger with Optimize Wealth Strategies. That's soothing you. You gotta love it. Well, so this month is the National Women's Month.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious why you decided to mention that. So when women are coming to you instead of men,
Yeah.
how do we differ? I mean, besides being incredibly superior in every way possible.
More emotional?
Probably.
Probably.
So, yeah. I mean, we were having that conversation earlier.
Yes. And I brought it up. I will throw myself under the bus here. That women typically are just more emotional.
Yeah.
And it's, I am not in a very, I can be at moments, but I'm definitely more like, let's punch the person and move on. Like, tell it to me straight, tell it to me directly. I need the information. I'm way more left brain. I'm not right brain very well. Josh is the creative one. I am not. I'm like, I just make it look pretty. Do something really awesome over there. So but I do understand where money can become emotional in certain ways. So, but I was curious just with women versus
I will say from my experience, I don't find, in terms of the finances, that women are more emotional in that sense. And maybe emotional is not the right word, but what I have seen from the men's side more than women is paralysis by overanalysis. Paralysis from overanalysis, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Right? Like they become indecisive because they overthink it and they're overthinking. What about this? And it's like, okay, so nothing happened, right? I will say it seems that when I'm working with couples, like the women are absolutely making decisions. And we know this, like we've got all the stats in the world that, women are actually making more of the financial decisions than men in relationships these days. And it doesn't matter to me. Like, great. Where, when you talk about, are there different strategies, right? Like, we don't have products specifically for women over men in the financial world, right? Let's all take a quiet laugh on that one real quick. But there are different things to consider. For example, like typically women live longer than men, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the longevity of women comes into play. So where does that maybe have an effect? Having long-term care insurance typically is going to be more utilized by females than it is by males, right? So again, actuarial science tells us men are stupid and we die younger. That's just what it is.
Definitely.
Right?
I don't think any man would disagree with that.
Yeah, yeah. So
I won't.
some other, again, more of a strategy. Again, it's not products that are for women, but like, as we know in our society, divorce happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Where statistically does the child go if there is a child involved? With the mother.
With the mom, yeah.
Right? So now, way more critically dire, if the mother passes away, that there's some life insurance
Right.
to be able to set the child up for
Yep. The
you know,
rest of
school,
her life. Yeah.
just living, right? So, I mean, those are some things to think about when you talk about, how do you plan with women different than men? Those are just a couple examples. Yeah.
I like it. Thank you. I don't disagree with anything you said.
No? Good.
No, not at all.
Good.
You hit it on the head. Hit it on the head.
Yeah.
I like
well,
it.
and they say, and as you said it, they said that women are typically more conservative in their investing, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the short term, sometimes that can be more beneficial. In the long term, right, conservative meaning not taking as much risk.
Right.
Risk is also directly proportional to, the return that you get.
Right.
Risk and reward, right? So again, there might be some years that because I'm more aggressive in my portfolio than you are, that, when we have another 2008, I'm going to take a bigger hit than you will. But over a 20, 30-year period, my portfolio is probably going to grow bigger, right? But the conservative gives you an easier wave, right? Like we know it's not this straight line. We
Right.
know it goes like this.
Right.
Sometimes it goes like this. And for those of you that are only listening, you can't see. I'm making a
Big
lot of
mountains or
erratic
little
moves
mountains?
with my arm. But being more conservative, it's a smoother ride. And some people, again, going back to the emotional side of it, by seeing that smoother, like not as far as a dip, right?
I would be interested, actually. I haven't looked at these statistics. I would be interested for if you know this on the financial side. My world shifted once I had a child, and it was instantaneous
How so?
shift, way more conservative. Like it was an almost immediate day one shift.
From an investment standpoint, like how you invest your money, or just in
of
general,
how I thought
like
about the world, which went with my finances.
risking. Okay.
It's now I have another being that I need to care for, and it's not just about me. I mean, whether you're married or not, it's like if you're married, I think husband, you're on your own. If you die, bye. But now I have.
You should hear some. You should hear some of the conversations with these couples too.
I so didn't mean it like I'm sorry to all couples. I'm so sorry. I didn't.
Well, the
mean it like
husband
that.
will be like, "If I die, I know that she's getting married within 6 months." It's like, whoa, fella,
6 months, 6
not
weeks.
a
Come on.
therapy
weeks, there you go.
session here.
Sometimes I'm sure it is.
It
Sometimes
actually
a lot
really
of the times
is.
it is.
It really
but
is,
I don't
especially going
view-
through the budgets.
Let me rephrase.
Yeah.
My husband in this situation, he's not my dependent, right? So now I have a dependent that really is dependent on me.
Right.
So my world shifted. So I'd be curious about because that is an emotional piece that I would feel and think that maybe a woman would think more about that than a guy. I don't know if that's true, but I'd be very curious how finances would shift on the woman's side once a dependent is entered into the equation.
See, I would think that once you have a kid, at least in my mind, you would be willing to take more risk and be more aggressive to make more funds because, again, birth to college, I mean, that's 18 years of I need to make some money for this kid. I got a lot of expenses to go through, and kids, as you know, are not cheap. They're expensive, no matter what they get into, schools, college, sports, everything. I mean, driver's license, you get 16, what are you paying? Hundreds of dollars of insurance just for a car.
Yeah.
That's a
So
great way
that's
of
what I
looking.
would think.
That's a great way of looking at it.
Well, and that's exactly why you sit down and we go through, like, I want to be the person that knows you better than anybody else.
Right.
To understand that that's how you feel about it. Because honestly, having that type of emotion, it's not a male or female thing. If you have a child, you care about your child, like, you should be thinking about those things, right? You should be thinking about making sure that my child is taken care of. Now, to your point, some people think of it that way, right? Like, when we go through a risk tolerance questionnaire, one of the questions is, hey, if the market goes down 15%, are you doing nothing? Are you making trades and getting out? Or are you looking at it as a buying opportunity?
Right.
Right. So just how, these are all how you feel about it. How are you going to react to these different situations? And so, yeah, I mean, this is big, right? Like,
Sorry, it's like making me tear up.
yeah. And I don't have any kids, but I definitely see that, and I absolutely understand that impact and the planning that you want to do for your kids. And that's one of the things. So when you're so amazing at connecting me with people, right? And the question always comes up, like, who are the type of people that you want to work with? Who is it you want to work with? And of course, I always say business owners, because again, I'm a business owner. I relate to you, and I can be huge for you. But I also say, do you somebody that loves somebody else? And let me give you the opposite as an example. So, not that I don't have some of these clients. It's not always a blanket situation, but a guy who is single. He's a salesman, and he's out and he's making money, and he's not married, doesn't have any kids.
Has no responsibility outside of
He
his
doesn't
work.
care about anything except, what was it? GLT? Gym, laundry, tan, something like. Wasn't that the Jersey thing? GLT
I've never
from the
seen
Jersey
Jersey
from the
Never
Jersey
heard
Shore.
that.
Yeah.
Wow. You've
So-
lost me.
But my point is, they don't care about anybody but themselves.
Right.
Right. Those aren't the people that I really want to work with.
Gym, laundry, and tanning.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm hanging out with the wrong
You're
dudes.
also a little bit younger, so
Okay,
yeah.
but true, different priorities.
But you get my point, right?
Yes.
So they don't, I want to work with people where somebody else is more important than themselves.
Right.
Again, I'm going to connect with those people better.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the family's super critical, and you want to make sure that you take care of them and make the right choices. Will you make different choices if you didn't have a child
Yes.
that you were caring about? You
Yes,
would.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, man,
I should go
I'm
the
having
opposite-
troubles with this thing, but
It's all good. I should go the opposite way, though. I'd be like, you know what? You're 6. You got this.
Yeah.
You figure it out.
right.
I should be very.
It's a good time to learn self-reliance. Yeah.
Risk, yeah.
Well, I think I did tell you guys this last time, but so we had an agency director, and we were going through this exercise, and it said, all right, fill in the blank. If I blank, then I would blank. And it was super easy for me to fill out. I immediately said, if I had somebody else that relied upon me, wife, child, whatever, then I would probably be working way harder than I was, right? Because, I mean,
Mine would be if I were dead, I then wouldn't care.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
But it's true.
Death
to,
and taxes.
To your point, death and taxes. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, to your point, when you have other heartbeats, it is, in business and in life and family, you think about it differently.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you realize, like, sometimes putting yourself in a tough situation will push you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was almost going to allude to that earlier because we were talking about living within your means, and I was about to give an asterisk there because business owners or people starting businesses, right? Like, they're going to take on some debt. They're taking on some risk. This is something that we've shown, time and time again. You're going to have to spend money or go into debt sometimes to start a business and
You're
get
going to
going.
spend a lot more than
you need some
think.
capital. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys know this very well. So I think it's similar also to where's my purpose? What is the purpose? What's going to drive you? If your purpose is your child and your family, I think that's awesome, right? I essentially put myself in a position where I go, okay, I've got to, make sure that I'm sufficient for myself and now my new employee that I have, right?
Right.
And so that's a motivator to go, all right, I've been here, now I've got to go here. So having whatever that purpose is, whatever it is that's going to push you, I think those are good things. But, yeah, so going back to having a child, like, do you drive slower?
Yes.
Do you,
Well,
are you more thoughtful about the
let me
foods?
rephrase.
Are you more thoughtful about the foods that you have in the house?
I
Like,
drive
what other
slower
ways
when
do you do
he's
that?
in the car.
Yeah, when he's not
When
in
he's
the car,
not,
I've been in the car with
nope,
you.
Don't care.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
frustrated as hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second, because all of that shifts so quickly. It's like you cannot leave the hospital until your kid can pass that, the
Breathe on your
Breathing
own thing.
test.
no, the breathing test, man. No, the car seat test. And so you literally cannot leave the hospital until they can properly sit in the car seat. So you're already thinking that's ingrained, like, to keep this kid safe. So yes, I do drive safer, and I'm learning to cook now because the kid can't eat microwave meals like I do. So it's like, well, shoot, I have to, think about his nutrition. So yes, things definitely shift when you have a dependent or another person in the world. Whether you're single and you go to dating or married or whatever it is, then it does. It just shifts
Yeah.
automatically.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think
there's-
age and experience and people, when you realize that you
For
love
sure.
somebody, you care about someone, it'll make us
that is very
You
true.
have
start
something
following
to
a
plan
better
for.
path. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
I
always
like it.
lovely having you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming in again.
Has it been an hour?
It has
It
been
has.
an hour.
It has.
I know it. I know. We didn't get to all your stuff, did we?
Well, I was more. You asked a lot of questions, so all good.
No,
All
it's good. We can go over.
I
a
can
little
go
bit.
always- over.
No,
You
I
can
always
go
enjoy
over.
it. No.
You can do. This is your time.
It
This
was
is-
stuff I was thinking about as I was laying down, like I'm watching that show Lost, and like, are there different, are we on different timelines in this world?
Yeah.
I heard it ends
the
great.
Matrix. You're
Lost.
facetious, right? Yeah, I've heard it was like the worst too.
Yeah. It is true. I think about that all of the time. The butterfly effect.
Yeah.
It's if I would have done a half inch differently at this moment. What's the Will Smith movie when it's like, oh, did he pay the check this time? Shoot, I can't remember. Sorry, it'll come to me in a minute.
Or like I've thought a ton about
But I can't remember.
like a single decision. Did I go left or right? And That's not a political. This fork in the road. Did I go this way or this way?
Yep.
Right. My dad
Had
talks
I
about
changed
it all the
that
time.
one decision,
I agree.
would I be here?
We talk about it all the time, and
Or-
it
or do-
creates
or
this
do you come back
huge
regardless?
long line. Right? If my parents would have stayed in Boston, what if he hadn't left IBM to move to Loveland, Colorado to start his own company?
Yeah.
We would be in a very different place. And I think about that all the time. Had I gone to a different school or dated somebody differently or
Right.
gotten a different job. And I've known this guy for 21 years.
Yeah.
Had I not been standing in line at the opening of Elway's restaurant and someone behind me heard me talking about, I want to be in the financial world. And I
Yeah.
said, you know what? You need to go hook up this place at Wells Fargo. Go meet up with this person. I would have never met him. So,
Yeah.
all of these little slivers, moments in time.
Well, speaking of
Change
meeting
it.
people, thank you guys. You guys have been awesome. Made such an effort to help connect me to other people. Not only being on the radio and the advertising that you do, but just the effort that you put into, hey, you two should meet. You two should meet. You should. Whether I expect always to get business or not, and that's not really typically the case. To be quite honest with you, it is connecting,
It's
and where does it go?
Right.
Those relationships are really great, and you're a good judge of character. It seems that, I've enjoyed, like everybody's been great. Like everybody's been super nice. And,
Good.
But I appreciate what you guys do. And so
Thank you.
anybody
Me too.
listening, watching, if you have a business or you're a Colorado musician, you need to talk to K4CO for sure.
Thank
Or
you.
if you
I
know
dig
of
you
somebody.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think that's what a lot of it is just about the connections is just like, okay, that person knows another person. That person knows another person. And it's just, that's why I love, I mean, she's the one who's incredible at making those connections, but now I'm out there.
I didn't want you to feel left out.
Yeah, I know.
I had to look at you a couple
But now
times.
I am out there like chambers events and all these different
Yeah.
things. And it's like, I have to get out there
Yeah.
and make these connections and meet these people and really, and I love it because it's the same reason I love doing interviews is you get to know people better and create that relationship and that bridge. So.
When you can do it in the right setting, right? As you said, in this setting or the one-on-ones. I don't necessarily love the big groups.
Yeah.
But again, that's one of those things where you go, all right, I'm going to have a good conversation with one person over the next hour. I'm not going to try to shake hands with 20.
Yep.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to have one good conversation.
That's
So,
exactly
yeah.
how I feel, especially at the chamber events. You know, I love both. We're involved, of course, with you in the Inglewood Chamber.
Right.
And that's as Lindsay Runyon always says, we're small and mighty. I just adore her. But it's the one-on-ones. And I always think about why I'm connecting people. And sometimes, it's not going to be, hey, you guys are going to do business at this first meeting. It's like 6 degrees of separation. It's like, okay, I know the circles
100%.
that you're rolling in and where you're rolling. So it's,
Right.
you guys are going to find a way to provide value for each other.
Right.
So it's, I do. But I
Well-
love that part of it because it's a value that I have is to really deepen relationships.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you're amazing at it. But and that's the thing too. For me, the chambers aren't to be slinging business cards.
Exactly.
It again, going back to you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. They're business owners, right? I want to learn. I still want to grow, and I want to be a better leader
Right.
for my team. And so I think that's my whole intention of being a part of those chambers. So
I totally agree. I was going through my business cards earlier this week. I was like, gosh, who haven't I talked to in a while? And the chamber people are the least amount of business cards that I have. And I found that so fascinating. And these are people that I'm texting all the time. I see them frequently. I'm like, I do not have their business cards. I found that kind of revelational.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need their business cards because they're a part of the people that I hang out with.
yeah, they're there.
I think some of the best people actually is like you just said, it's not about here's my business card. In fact, I get very uncomfortable when I go up, some stranger comes up, it's just like, what do you do? Hey, this is what I do. Here's my card. I'm like, dude, chill out for a second. In fact, some of the
Who
most
are you?
important relationships and poignant people that I've met and that I still talk to all the time, we just BS'd about life and figured out who we are and everything. And then later on, it's just like, oh, you do that? Oh, okay, cool. Tell me, but you got to get to know somebody
Right.
first before you just,
Right.
start talking about that stuff. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, if you're walking towards me and you have your card out already,
A lot of them do.
I will do a hard detour.
Right.
No
There are
doubt.
groups that definitely do that
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
So I'm with you.
Yeah.
Well, before we sign off, is there
Yeah.
anything else that you wanted to make sure you said or we hit on?
No, I respect your time.
No, well, as do we. And this is your time to
yeah,
shine.
no.
You can sing us a song.
I mean, we
you
were
can
talking
do
about
what you
the
want.
Daily Stoic, right? So I like to educate myself on the Stoic philosophers and whatnot. And something that came up, and again, we were talking about, I had a couple times today where people just didn't show up or were extremely late. And it's one of those things where you go, okay, I realize it wasn't a malicious movement. They weren't doing it evil, with
intentionally.
evil intent and
Yeah.
against me, right? Or like if you're out in your cars and we're driving, right? If you're driving fast or whatever.
Mine's evil intent.
And I drive fast too, right? And I think the cars is a great example because again, maybe you're not trying to be malicious against someone else, but it doesn't mean what you're doing is right.
Right.
And you need to be thoughtful of you're not the only human in this world
Yep.
that is important. If you're out there in your car, you're driving a giant weapon. Maybe you've had a bad day, right? They were saying, well, you don't know what kind of day that person's had. I get that. Again, I don't think they're trying to be evil or malicious.
Right.
But
Yeah.
by doing what you're doing, it's also being, you're not taking in the fact that you're not the only human on the road.
I totally agree. When you
Yeah.
get off an escalator, move to the side before you stop.
When you're walking down a
Drives me
sidewalk,
So Except be aware
on the right
of
side,
your
we ride our bikes on
Grocery
the right
store is
side.
huge. Grocery store is huge.
Exactly.
Right in the middle.
Stop in the middle.
So I think, again, just awareness that you're not the only person. I know.
I do. I
Yes.
will move.
Yeah.
For anyone watching and listening right now, I will move your cart.
Yeah. I absolutely. I moved somebody's car. I moved somebody's car. I'm not even joking. So I used to live down. I used to live down by Capitol Hill, at like 13th.
Oh, well, that explains
At 13th and Washington. So I'm trying to park, and I had the spot in the alley, and this little Honda was sitting there, just sitting there. I'm like, what the heck? And it was running, and no one was around. I got out of my 4Runner at the time, got in that person's car, moved it. She finally comes out, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, trust me, I didn't steal anything out of this piece of junk. You had your car parked here like you shouldn't. But no, so, and please don't get me wrong. When I say these things about like trying to be a good person, it's that I'm always trying to improve myself. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to be a better person, be aware of who's in my world,
Right.
and be as good to them as I can. So I'm just sharing that for other people to try to do that too,
Right.
I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Be aware of other people.
Yeah.
And yeah, to your point, we never know what's going on in their world.
We don't,
And
but it doesn't
be
mean
respectful. I
Yeah.
agree. It's to be respectful of
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
When you can. And if you can't, stay out of my way.
Yeah.
There's your warning.
Yeah.
There you go.
I will move your cart.
I will move your
move
cart.
your cart.
I have done it.
Or your car if you're in
I've
Capitol
never
Hill.
moved a car before. I mean, I'd be like, yeah, other things would be going through my mind. So
That's great.
Well, Josh, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
coming in,
guys.
and
Thank you
looking
again.
forward to the next time you come in. And
Yeah.
it's just always a pleasure. So
Always
thank
enjoy
you
it.
very much.
yeah,
All
for
right.
those of you listening,
Thanks for having
Optimize
me.
Wealth Strategies. I love the owl. The logo is such a cool owl.
Thank you.
The
Thank
logo
you.
is very, very
It's
cool.
a hoot.
It's a hoot. Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Wow.
Now we
I
got
hope
it.
you all are watching on
Now we got
Facebook
it.
because that was
Yeah.
a face
That was
of
a great face.
you guys are like, yes.
All right. Well, we've been
Thank you,
talking with
guys.
Josh Dellinger, Optimize Wealth Strategies. And make sure to call him 720-988-9875. You've been seeing
Oh,
us.
that's my cell phone. Can I stop you there?
Of course, yes.
So I have a new office line, 720-303-3979. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
We
That's
will
good to
update
know.
that.
We got to
That is
update
good.
that.
We do.
Exactly.
Man, you're
Thank
moving
you.
on up in the
Yeah.
world. This
Yeah.
assistant is boosting you.
Zoom phone is awesome.
Okay.
It's a great
Nice.
great setup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Heck yeah. Well, thank you very much, and we're going to return you to our regular scheduled programming. Definitely stay tuned. 7 to 8, we have one solid hour of Colorado-only artists for you. And thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great night.